Hello and welcome to the Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ligato, and today we have a ton of spicy takes, updates on what is going on in Palestine, and really, we're just gonna start off and end this video with like some really interesting stuff. And to start off with, there is a report now that Netanyahu believes that the security establishment let the atrocities of October 7th happen in order to bring him down. This per Daphna Leal, one of Israel's most mild-mannered, no-nonsense political reporters. So this is something I've been saying, which is that someone in Israel had to have allowed this to happen. If you know anything about Israel, my initial thought, and I'll just flat out admit this, was I thought it had to be a major country helping Hamas for Hamas to be as successful as it was. And then I dug deeper and I recognized, even with the support of a major country, there's just no way that Hamas could have been as successful as it was. If you look at the amount of security and surveillance around Gaza, they very obviously had to have known what was going to happen, especially when you consider reports that came out soon after October 7th, which was that Egypt and the United States both warned Israel about an upcoming Hamas attack. And so there was just so much surveillance, so much satellite footage, so much of everything that would have made it very obvious that an attack was going to occur. And I've heard people saying you can't go 5 feet without seeing an Israeli soldier. There's just no way for Hamas to have pulled off as much territorial gain as it did without being noticed for literally hours. The Israelis took to respond. Israel is one of the most secure states in the world. It really is. It's just constantly on a war footing. It's constantly on high alert. And so I strongly suspected that it had to be some sort of false flag. It had to be something to rally the people as Israel was disintegrating. People were very hostile towards judicial reforms that Netanyahu wanted in his within the Israeli government. And I think maybe someone thought that this could rally the country. He's saying that it was meant to rally the country against him, but I think another take is that this was meant to rally the country around him because he's supposedly the security guy, and if this attack happened because he was too busy with the protest to his government, maybe you could say that that's a good reason to rally around him. And he has managed to work this such that he's still in power, at least for the length of this conflict, which may not have been the case if Hamas hadn't attacked. So there's a ton of suspicions, but even Netanyahu himself is saying that some faction within Israel allowed this attack to happen. So that's how we're starting off this episode of the Joe Ligato Show, because it had to have been the case. It really, truly had to have been. If you study Israel, there's no other, nothing else that could have happened here. So let's spend some time thinking about Israel and what's going on with Israel and the wider world's impact. So one, this person looks extremely scary. And this person is Israel's National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir. And he says regarding Gaza, what is needed here is an occupation, as every time our enemies lost territory, they lost the war. We should have full control. This will deter our enemies and let them know we have won. So they're trying to push the population of Gaza into the Sinai Peninsula, which is controlled by Egypt. And they're trying to take over all of that land if possible. So this is a genocide by legal definitions of the word genocide. And we have even more, which is that the West, even Western propaganda apparatus, which is literally directly controlled by Zionists, even they are starting to say things that are not beneficial to Israel. So here we have the BBC saying that Israel has tampered with evidence, manipulated video, lied to the public, and provided no evidence that Al-Shifa's hospital was a command center for Hamas. And so, do we want to watch this video? Okay, it was watched by 4.2 million people, so I think we could spend a couple minutes watching this video. This is a good way, I think we can end this.
Verify has been examining the different sources of information that we
have. This is not loud enough.
Israel described the Al-Shifa hospital.
No, that's not loud enough for us to go over. But if we believe this summary, which I've heard this video, and so I do believe this summary, they are saying that Israel is tampering with evidence, manipulating video. So the propaganda for Israel is just simply not working at this point. And so what are they going to do when the Zionists are losing this badly? So far, I've heard things like threatening America, saying that America is next if Israel falls, et cetera, et cetera. But it does look like Israel is going to lose eventually because more and more countries are sanctioning Israel, are withdrawing their diplomats from Israel, cutting off diplomatic ties, et cetera, et cetera. So we have Susan Sarandon here showing the countries that have withdrawn diplomats from Israel: Bahrain, Chad, Chile, Colombia, Honduras, Jordan, and Turkey. And then countries that cut all diplomatic ties with Israel: Bolivia, South Africa, and Belize. So we're seeing a lot of progress being made. It's slow but steady progress. And you wouldn't have seen this a few years ago because Israel and the Zionist coalition really did run the world. And they still do to a certain extent, but the rest of the world is coalescing. They're forming a cohesive unit to fight back and form their own multipolar bloc, their own anti-Zionist coalition. So you really love to see it. Next up we have, so we just got done talking about a little bit earlier about how BBC was starting to point out the propaganda from Israel, but then at the same time, they are also spewing their own propaganda that helps out Israel. So here's a question by BBC Question Time. And the audience question is the Israeli targeting of a Gaza hospital justified? So they get absolutely lit up in the comment section of this, but you can see the rhetoric here where they include in the Overton window. So remember, the Overton window is the thoughts that are allowed within public conversation. They're the things that are allowed to be discussed and debated. And so what BBC did was put in this conversation that maybe attacking hospitals is legitimate, is justified, which it is not justified. If there are innocents in the hospital, you do not attack that hospital. But that is the type of propaganda that we typically expect from the BBC, which is why it's so surprising that they're starting to come out and saying that Israel is lying about evidence. So let's see what else we have. I think this is a good way to end. So there's this Twitter thread that really has been gaining traction. I think it's worth us going over. It starts off with Charles Weber saying, "To the cowards hiding behind the anonymity of the internet and posting Hitler was right. If you got something you want to say, why don't you say it to our faces?" Okay, this video is just a propaganda video. We don't have to watch it. So what's really important is this reply by the artist formerly known as Eric. And what he says is, okay, Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites that they claim they want people to stop using against them. Okay, so I've seen this in academia. You could see any number of Twitter posts about this. I've talked about this in other videos where you have a person of Jewish descent say, "I'm white and white people suck, they're awful, they're the worst." And then later on, whenever people view them as white and say like, "Hey, you're one of those bad white people," they're like, "Actually, I'm not white, I'm Jewish, and so we don't consider ourselves white." And so that type of pretending to be white in order to talk badly about white people, that is something that has been pretty consistent amongst a lot of people of Jewish descent. And so this person posting this is saying exactly that. And these are the Zionist Jewish people that are doing this type of thing. And now the artist formerly known as Eric is saying, "I'm deeply disinterested in giving the tiniest interest now about Western Jewish populations coming to the disturbing realization that those hordes of minorities that support flooding their countries, that they support flooding their countries, don't exactly like them too much. You want truth said to your face? There it is." Okay, so I'm not saying that. This is the person saying that. And so this is a pretty common sight, a pretty common thing that is said on Twitter. What makes this post so shocking and so important is Elon Musk responded saying, "You have said the actual truth." So when this person says that Jewish communities in the Western world are fomenting hatred towards white people, Elon Musk, depending on the day, is either the first or second richest person in the world. He is saying that is a true statement. Okay. So you're welcome to look this up. This is actually something this is an exchange that happened. Elon Musk is pointing out something that he believes to be truthful, and I believe to be truthful after my time in academia. So interesting thing that I wanted to end this episode on. So things are changing in the world very quickly. I mean, a year ago, I don't think anyone would have expected that the Zionist propaganda apparatus would be this far in retreat. They're losing so badly. Anyways, if you found this video to be helpful, informative, anything like that, please give us a thumbs up. It helps us in the algorithm. Please subscribe to our channel for more content, YouTube and Rumble. Please leave us a comment in the comment box below. Questions, concerns, critiques. I do read all of them, and I do appreciate your comments. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.